Howdy, everyone. Tad Stevens on the Micro Success Secrets podcast, where we focus on business, psychology, and marketing, and how you can use that in your business daily and long term. Today, I'm talking with Brenton Ward, who started his first business at the age of 23, and 10 years on has founded and grown 3 companies to 7 figures in short periods of time. He has passion for working with experts in their field and bottling their knowledge to share with global audiences. This has led him to co-found his most recent venture in passion, Wize Mentoring, which is a membership platform and community dedicated to helping accountants and bookkeepers around the world build a firm that runs without them. Brenton's from Australia, but he lives in Dublin with his wife and family. Brenton, how you doing today?
Good, Tad. Good. Really good. Thank you. How are you?
I am excellent. So let's roll right into it. And the first question I like to ask is, if you had one life or business decision that you could change, you could go back in time and change it. First off, would you change it? And second, if you would change it, what would you change it to?
I would. It's interesting, actually. I probably wouldn't have started my business for maybe like another 18 months compared to when I actually did start it, because to go back, it's probably 10 years now. I was working with a mutual connection of ours, Rob Nixon, who's one of the godfathers, if you like, of the business coaching world for accountants around the world. And I'd spent 3 years with Rob. I was 23 at the time. And in being in that environment and being around someone like Rob, who, for anyone who knows him, he's an incredible entrepreneur, a lot of energy. This environment is just really, really sort of energizing in a way that it makes you think about, well, do I have this flair? Should I be an entrepreneur as well?
Yeah, no, I've talked to Rob. Yes, I can visualize that.
So he almost gives you the bug for, wanting to create your own destiny and take control of your own destiny. So I decided at 23, well, it was time to fly the nest. And with Rob's blessing, he said, go on your way and do your thing. And I went out and started my own financial planning business because I was a financial planner by trade. And 18 months down the track, I think I was probably just a little bit early out of the gates with starting that business. I think if I'd spent another 18 months with Rob, got some more knowledge and was better at building the foundations for a business, I was probably a little bit cocky at that time and thought I could do it all myself and do it better than what most people were doing it. So I wouldn't change my path and I wouldn't change my history because it's created and shaped what I've done today, but I probably would have not flown the nest for another 18 months or so, I think.
Quite so, yeah. Understandable. And for anybody out there that does not know Rob or has not heard him or seen him, what Brenton's talking about is absolutely, he's an amazing individual. His business model is awesome. I think is he still in Australia?
He is. Now he's in Australia, but a lot of his business is in your part of the world, in the US and North America. But yeah, just one of those entrepreneurs that you don't come across too often in life, where they seem to have it all worked out. They've got the charisma, they've got the ability to sell, to market, to deliver, and they've created a very successful, in his case, multiple businesses and a great lifestyle as well. So wanting to emulate that from working with him has been a big goal of mine for sure.
Excellent. So in kind of the same vein, if there's one decision, business, life combination that you've made that worked out super positive, it's one of those things, where you look back at your life, you think of everything as before that decision and after that decision. You divide it into two. Do you have one of those that you could share?
I do. And it's interesting actually, because before this decision, business was my life. It was everything. It was my passion. It was what I did every day. It was what I thought about all hours of the day. But after this decision, it became the vehicle to allow me to live the life that I wanted to live, rather than consume my life. So the decision itself was, and to provide some context, I was about 3 or 4 years into building my first business, financial planning business. We were really taking off at that stage. We'd gone from 3 guys with laptops to a 200 square meter office with 15 staff and about 2,000 clients. And we're really starting to take off and see the benefits of all the hard work we put in. But the love of my life, which was an Irish girl I met traveling in Argentina of all places, was with me in Australia for 5 years, but got the bug and got the call to come home to Ireland, to Dublin. And at that stage, it was, do we break up or do we try and do long distance, or what do we do? And the big decision that you've asked is, I decided to pull up stumps and move my entire life from Australia to Ireland. Leaving 2 businesses behind. I was going back to Australia every 6 weeks from Dublin, which is a 24-hour plane ride. And working 6 weeks at a time. So it was a decent commute to work for 2 years. But that decision helped me make a lot of sort of flow-on decisions with relation to my business. So I had 2 businesses at the time. One was a financial planning business. One was a coaching business, consulting business to accounting firms. Both partners of businesses said they were okay with giving the blessing for me to move to Ireland. But one was okay, one said we're okay, and one said they were okay, but they weren't really okay.
That happens, yeah.
Yeah. So rather than let that become really toxic, I had to grow up pretty quickly when I moved everything to the other side of the world, and I pulled the Band-Aid. So I actually decided to get out of this second business, the consulting business, very quickly, which actually meant cutting off my income stream at the time. But I knew it was the best decision for my family, for my health, my well-being. And ultimately, now that I look back on it, it allowed me to free up my time to create something that's truly a passion of mine now, and something that's, something we could grow into a very big business if we want to.
Well, excellent. Okay, and again, that rolls into the next question that I have. Those are big decisions. I mean, those are, big moves, big changes, and change, as most entrepreneurs probably know, are not always easy. And a lot of times we get stuck. What do I do? And so you just, you freeze and you don't do anything, which is, common. But successful entrepreneurs, you in particular, move past those. You move through them, past them, around them, however you do it. Are there techniques, methods, or things that you look at when you come to a decision like that keeps you moving or gets you unstuck that you could share?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting looking back, certainly on that phase of moving from Australia to Ireland, in amongst that, trying to manage 2 businesses, manage an exit from a business. I had a death in my family, which was sudden and quite a horrific circumstance. So I was dealing with all of these things. And when I got to Ireland, I kind of just bottled them up and got on with life for about 6 months until I accidentally flipped the cap off the bottle and ended up in hospital thinking I was having a heart attack at the age of 30. But it wasn't that. It was basically the way in which I dealt with stress, which wasn't a good way of dealing with it.
Not if you end up in the hospital. Yeah.
That's right. So that led me on a journey of really understanding how to manage myself in these environments, high pressure of building a business, managing teams, managing staff, and then trying to be a good husband, good friend, good family member at the same time. And the way I boil it down now is, in order to get unstuck, I kind of step back. So each time I feel like I'm stuck, what I find is if I keep myself in the same environment in which I'm stuck in, I don't find the answers. So these days, whether the stuck piece is a small bit or it's a really large decision, I actually change my environment. I know it's probably not, a huge out of the world thing, but I just change my environment and look at the stickiness from a different angle, or look at the challenge from a different angle. And it normally gives me the answers I need to overcome it or push through it.
That is, just to let you know, I ask this question a lot in these podcasts, and that is a very common theme that keeps coming back and back and back in one way or another, is to change your physical environment, change your emotional environment, change, just like you were talking about, just change your environment. It gives you a new perspective, a new look on things. And I find that helpful too. I mean, I do the same thing.
Yeah.
If I once a day, I'll go exercise or work out. And I generally wait till I come upon something I can't solve, because I know if I get out there and I do that, a lot of times it just comes. I just
Doesn't
stop
it?
thinking about it and the answer just pops in my head. So, which is great. So that is very common and very, apparently very, very effective, because I haven't had anybody yet say that they change their environment and they don't get unstuck. So thanks. That's
Yeah.
great.
No, it's true.
So,
And I think we get stuck behind a keyboard. A lot of us, certainly in the current environment, are now
yeah.
living most of our business lives through a keyboard or a screen. And I just don't think problems really get solved there, certainly on a daily basis. You've got to step away from the screen to solve it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally. Okay. So, and kind of wrapping it all up, if you were looking at this back, say before you were with Rob, or at some point, and looking at what you know now, and you lost it all, or the environment changed, regulation changed, government changed, something changed, and you had to start from scratch, what would you do from here?
Yeah, there's two things I think, and I'm fairly biased on the first one because it's what I do for a living now, and it's mentoring. So I would be finding someone who has done whatever it is I want to do, because they exist out there in some way, shape, or form, and I'd be learning off them or asking to learn off them, because I just think mentoring is just one of the most undervalued, underutilized education systems we have available to us. So that would be the first thing. And the second would be to not chase shiny things.
I laugh because that's one of my issues.
Yeah, it's so easy. Certainly with our sort of personality type, where every opportunity just looks so good, and it's so hard to refuse. But I think the more times we say no to the opportunities, the more success we have in the ones that we've got our hands on already. So in the earlier days, I thought, a big fan of Richard Branson and these serial entrepreneurs, and thought, well, for me to be successful, I've got to go out and start multiple businesses at the same time.
Do everything, yeah.
Do it all. Doesn't work. If you actually dig down into what Richard Branson did, he only had one business for the first 10 years of his career. And then he sort of started to branch out from there. So I think there's probably a couple of learnings in that, and that's to have people you look up to like that, but don't think you have to have their level of success straight away. And then the more focus you put into one thing, the more success you get out of it.
Yep. I think that's great advice. Excellent. So really appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing and all of that. And want to check and see if there's anything that you wanted to close with, and anything that you had to offer to the listeners that might be able to help and support them.
Absolutely. You mentioned at the start that my most recent company is called Wize Mentoring, and it's something we started about 18 months ago, and we're really excited about it. It started as a passion project. It's a mentoring platform for accountants and bookkeepers around the world who are kind of stuck in their business, and they want to figure out ways in which to grow where the business isn't consuming them. So it is pointed towards accountants and bookkeepers, but we've had business owners from all walks of life tune into our resources and get value from what we do. So if there's any business owners who want some support, or want a soundboard, or want a community that they'd like to get some feedback on how to build a business that works for them instead of them working for it, then we'd love for you to check out some of the resources that we have available, completely free online. And you can, I think there'll probably be a link in the show notes tab, but for anyone listening in, wizementoring.com/podcast, you'll be able to grab those.
Okay. Yes. And we'll definitely have all the links and any contact information in the show notes and in the description of anywhere we post this. So yeah, great. People will be able to get there. And I do encourage them to take a look at the stuff that y'all have out there, because we've been talking for a while now, and we're still working on some projects going forward, and really like your approach. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for listening in. Have a safe and productive week and be the very, very best at whatever you are. Until next time, Tad Stevens with Micro Success Secrets. Bye for now.
Thanks.